of delivering justice so that everybody feels wronged. Ask women if they get justice, they will be equally disappointed. They will express similar sentiments of disappointment at the way courts function, at the way the police function. So laws are easily abused in India because our systems are very, very dysfunctional. However, I agree with Mr. Ali that adding monetary compensation is a tricky matter. I don't think I want to have a price tag on my izzat. Right. And we know, for example, in all these recent cases of sexual harassment that have hit the headlines in America and in other countries in the West, how settlements are made, and it almost becomes like extortion exercise. Right. In cases where the harm done is of a very, very deep kind, you destroyed somebody's career, for example, then to recompense is one thing. But to say there should be financial recompense as by way of punishment, I think is a very ugly idea.
Right. Let me also go across to Mohit Lalwani, my colleague who joins us from the newsroom. Mohit, you just heard the concerns there. While on one hand, there is hope that a bill like this will actually make women come forward and talk about the kind of harassment which takes place in some workplaces and actually encourage them to come forth with their complaints. On the other hand, there is also concern that the law might be misused for cases like extortion. What really is the international experience as far as defining these kind of laws are concerned?
Well, the first thing, Rukmini, is I think we need to understand the scope of this entire proposed bill. You know, does it fall under the civil code? Does it fall under the penal code? Who eventually becomes liable if there are any fiduciary penalties? Is it the employer? Is it the government? You know, these are various questions that need to be answered as well. Now, internationally, and this is extremely important to understand, that internationally, while even in the US, which obviously is the most advanced when it comes to sexual harassment cases, they generally restrict it to situations within the workplace. There's no gender bias. Initially, of course, it was. You know, it was in 1991. The first draft was specifically for women. Today, of course, it's for the same gender as well. So in that sense, I think it's important for us to understand the scope of how this all fits, and I think it's a very valid point that the police and the judiciary may add to corruption in what could be, which could be a proposal to actually give teeth to sexual harassment in the workplace.
Right, let me come back to Mr. Ali. Mr. Ali, it's true that under Article 15 of the Constitution, it prohibits discrimination again under the grounds of religion or sex. But there is a social reality in India. Women are very oppressed even today. But if women can get reservations in panchayats and in parliament on the basis of gender, which is a positive discrimination, why can't there be a law in their favor?
See, first of all, I want to correct Mr. Madhukeshwar on my part that it's not about that women heading the committees and real issue with us. It's the word committed to the cause and issue first. Now see, if you look at the track record of India, whenever we have made a law which is women-centric, which has got a lot of tooth and nail into it, it has been abused. 498A is the prime example for it. We got formed because of that 498A law. Next came BV Act. It is also again being misused. There is consultation of money into it. It is being used for extortion of money. Okay. So now when you are making a law which is actually a special provision for women and providing a system around it that gives a bias status to a woman when you're filing the case, you lead to the misuse and abuse of power. And other half of the gender, that is the men, who are actually harassing them, the innocent men. So what you are saying is that I'm okay with giving power to women, even if innocent men are getting suffered. So this is not the principle behind the criminal justice system. You don't design anything like this.
Right, let me go across to Madhukeshwar again. Now, Madhu, you just heard what Mr. Ali had to say. What is the reason behind the decision of having a woman committed to the cause of women heading this committee? Do we not trust a man to do a justifiable job in this case?
I think the presence of women often helps women narrate very difficult personal experiences, because sexual harassment can be very traumatic, especially if it is not confined to light-hearted flirtation. It's very often very, very embarrassing for women to explain and to describe what happens. We know, for example, how brutalized rape victims feel with judges and male lawyers who make them feel further humiliated, add insult to injury. So the presence of women is important. But that is not to say that any woman and every woman, to any sari-wearing creature is necessarily sensitive to other women. You have any number of cases of men who are extremely sensitive to women and women who are not, and vice versa. So, but the presence of women, I think, is extremely important. But the other thing I want to say is, if it is made gender neutral, then it's okay. Now, the point that I want to emphasize is, if the laws are prone to misuse in the because of the crude manner in which they are drafted and because of a very corrupt and inefficient implementation machinery,
right,
how will this law not be misused in the hands of men? So,
that's a fair point.
Say giving recourse to men will also equalize the situation. There are any number of men who also misuse laws.
That's an absolutely fair point.
The problem is far more serious.
That is a fair point, and I will let Mr. Ali respond to that, but it's time for us to take a very short commercial break. Back with more on this development story in the